Welcome to another episode of the Sales Manager Academy podcast. As always, I'm your host, Omar, and we talk about leadership in the small wireless retail world, right? We're talking about wireless retail, we're talking about AV sales, appliance sales, we're talking about furniture, we're talking about things outside of big box retail. We're talking about where we actually have to be a SME and understand what we're doing in order to be able to truly help our clients and customers and really succeed in the long term. And as leaders, it falls on us to ensure that we're actually training and developing our people. And one of the things I want to talk about, because I see this very often, is you have people from the corporate world, from places like big box retail, places where it's all about the investor because these are publicly traded companies, go into small retail locations thinking that they're going to be able to drive the business the same way that they did in this other world. And I say other world because it really truly is. When we're talking about small companies, we're talking about companies that are privately held, they're not publicly traded. So the type of work that is done is going to be completely different. It is actually work that needs to get done. It is not about enriching the investor. And this is what I've always disliked about publicly traded companies is this mindset. And I know it goes back to actual case, right? Case study that this happened, but or case precedent. But the law says essentially that for publicly traded companies, the company must do what's in the best interest of the investor, not of the company, not of the employees, not of the customers. And the reason I don't like that is because here's the thing. If you're truly taking care of your employees and truly taking care of your customers, the company is going to be taken care of and the investors will be enriched even more because we have longer timelines, right? Longer life, right, of what the client and the customer is going to be doing with the organization, right? Their overall lifetime spend is going to increase. This is not science. This is not, witchcraft. This is not, well, I think. This has already been studied and proven. When you've taken care of your clients and customers, they will return and they will spend more with your facility, with your organization, with your location, with whatever you do. If your sole focus is just the immediate, let me just enrich the investor at all costs, doesn't matter if it's going to be a detriment to the customer or to the company 5 years from now when I'm no longer there. It's just what happens here and now. And that's where that mindset needs to stop. When you're going into these smaller organizations that are truly there, they try to be a good, pillar to the community. They're about taking care of their employees. They're about taking care of their clients and customers because they understand what it means to be part of the community and what happens when you start to take away from that and start just focusing in, I'm just going to do this right here now to enrich myself, but screw everybody else over. That's not how things happen. That's actually how you make organizations worse and how you lead them to their retail death. We've seen it with Circuit City, we've seen it with Radio Shack, we've seen it with Sprint. Okay. They're not taking care of their employees, they're not taking care of their customers, and they end up being the death of themselves. We've seen it so many times, case after case after case of this happening. And there are cases of this happening in real time where those who are practitioners, those who have seen this before, understand, okay, this is what's going to happen unless they do a complete 180, and it's going to take a lot of effort to get them out of that spiral. But it's happening. With smaller retail locations, we're talking about smaller teams. We're talking about many of our people wearing multiple hats because, yes, we're running leaner, but we're also not spending and wasting time on things that on paper are going to make the organization look good to investors. They're actually taking care of what needs to get taken care of and ensure there's not as much bureaucracy in the process to cause issues, right? I see this, for instance, when it comes to logistics on the delivery side, right? We're talking about AV, we're talking about appliances. When it comes to deliverables, hey, yes, stuff happens, but once you start mixing in so much bureaucracy, there also tends to be a breakdown. And oftentimes you mix that in bigger box locations because you mess something up and now you need to fix it. And instead of actually fixing the issue, you're trying to remedy the symptom. And that causes more of a headache. Now, for you as a leader, what does that mean for you going into the field when you're used to maybe having multiple layers and you're not dealing with customers directly? You're not dealing with oftentimes your frontline employees often, right? I'm talking to you regionals. I'm talking to you DMs. Okay, this is more your question, especially if you're going into those roles from one of these publicly traded companies. You will be focused more on working with your frontline teams because they're the ones who need the training and the development. And your local leaders will also need it, but obviously they've been put in those roles. Maybe not because they lead, but because, yes, they can sell. And these are the positions where they are allocated more hours and they can spend more time selling. Now, you and I understand that if your local leaders, if your store managers, your GMs are the ones selling, then that also means they're not spending as much time being able to train and develop their people. That also means that a lot of the stuff that needs to get taken care of on the admin side, on the operation side, isn't happening. And I've said this before, it's not about how much we sell, it's about what sticks. Because at the end of the day, to run a profitable organization, you have to ensure that the revenue is actually sticking. It doesn't matter if they did 120% to goal. If after operations and everything is taken care of on the P&L, they're barely breaking even. There's a big, big issue there. Okay. There's a big misalignment. So we need to ensure that things are getting focused on, that our people are getting trained. And the thing is that, once again, you can't bring in sellers and have this mindset that this is going to be an unskilled entry level position and expect them to perform at the level of a veteran that's been doing this for 5+ years and is a professional in that field and understands the systems, the processes, and the psychology of the customer interactions that they're dealing with. You can't have it both ways. You need to understand what you're asking for and what you're getting back in return. And what you'll notice is if you invest in training and developing of your people, yes, the ramp up might be a little bit longer, but the longevity of your employees, the longevity of your customers is going to increase. So you're going to have a higher lifetime revenue, okay? Lifetime value from those customers, those clients that you have, because you spent more time focused on training and developing your people. Their commissions, their bonuses will be higher because they have the training and they feel more confident in what they're doing. And that's going to increase the lifetime that that employee is going to have at that organization. They may not want to leave because there's not going to be a lot of other organizations that can offer what you're offering, especially with the experience that they have. And we all know with experience and with revenue increasing, we're able to open up more locations. We're able to acquire other organizations. We're able to grow, and we're now able to offer more opportunity for our people. It comes down to training and developing. And oftentimes, a lot of people run into this hiccup of, well, I come from a bigger organization. This is how they did it. Nobody fucking cares how they did it. They brought you in because you showed results. You need to bring that mindset of, I'm here to get results. Okay? And I'm going to drive results doing this. Now, if you force your mindset upon a new organization without trying to understand who they are, what they stand for, how you and they are part of the organization, then they will reject you. Just like if it's, a disease coming into the organization, they don't know you. So they're going to put an immediate stop to what you're doing. So where you may have been great before, because you didn't take the time to imbue yourself in the organization, they'll see you as an outsider. And what we need to do is focus on being able to give them something to believe in. And you do this by focusing in on keystone habits, on something. Pick one thing that's going to mean so much to them. When we're talking about sales, there's not much on in all fairness besides how much they can make. I would say the bigger thing for them is being able to make more working less. And when we say by working less, isn't putting in less hours, isn't putting in more hours. It's making it seem effortless. And you make things feel effortless by focusing on the basics, the fundamentals, and training and developing. I've talked about how great teams, right, in sports, great athletes, they don't train on this one thing that may happen once in a blue moon. They focus and train on the fundamentals, the things that they do on a consistent daily basis. For us, it's going to be our average customer interactions. What is the average customer or client that we have that comes in? Let's focus on really getting in on that. And if we notice, like, hey, we have a small amount of people that don't come in very often but come in consistently, then we can start focusing on that once we have the basics and the fundamentals down. Guys, oftentimes some of the basic fundamentals are as easy as fucking greeting people when they walk in the door and not making them feel like they're not seen. By recognizing just the presence of somebody who's walked into a location makes a huge difference, right? Yes, you might be on the phone, you might be with somebody else. It's just, hey, give me 1 second, let me just, greet them real fast, you know? Hey guys, we'll be right with you. We're super busy right now, but as soon as we get freed up, or if you want to go take a look around, right? Boom. I can't tell you how even in big box retail locations, that small thing makes such a huge impact in how long a client will stay or customer will stay at that location and how much the basket grows. Because they've actually, somebody took the time to acknowledge them. That is such a huge thing. When I first took my first role as a manager, one of the things that I told my employees was, hey, I'm going to help train you because I want you to be able to make as much as you can. And ultimately, the goal is for you to be able to replace me, right? But here's the thing. If you don't greet somebody when they walk in, and if you greet them and then walk away from them, I'm going to take it over and I will not hand over that sell because you did not earn the sell. You did not earn that customer interaction. Guys, oftentimes as customers, we know this. We walk into a location, and especially in the Western world, we're so focused on, I just need this, but I don't know where it is. I don't know exactly if it's the best option or if there's anything else available. And somebody comes up and they ask, hey, can we help you? And your mindset goes to, it's just a knee-jerk reaction. Oh, no, I'm good. But the moment they say something else, like, hey, you sure? Like, what are you looking for exactly? Let me point you in the right direction. You break that down and you snap back into reality. It's like, oh, yes, I'm looking for this, right? And they'll point you in the right direction. If they're great, they'll take you over there and they'll ask you a couple more questions like, oh, what do you need it for? What are you using it with? Because oftentimes, for a lot of companies, you guys know this, especially mom, pop, small proprietors, people buy things that are incorrect for their needs and they end up returning it or exchanging it. And now we're stuck with a product that's open box. Typically, that's oftentimes a little bit harder to be able to move. And yeah, it's just a bad experience, right? Because oftentimes some of those returns, those customers aren't going to come back because they feel that they didn't get their needs met at that location. So they're just going to return it and go somewhere else. Or they're going to return it and look for it online. But when you bring the expertise into your location and you've trained up your people and they can ask the right questions, you'd be surprised how that one item sell can turn into a suite, can turn into a much bigger basket, right? Maybe they go into an appliance location and they're looking for a quick fix because their dryer's on the fritz. A couple more questions and boom, washer, dryer, and appliance going out, right? Because they took the time to understand what the customer's needs were. And then they find out there's a bit more going on and they're offering solutions. And the customer's hands like, hey, yeah, now is the time to do it. We've been talking about it for a while. Boom. Same thing for like a home theater project, home audio, right? In wireless, we see that all the time. In furniture, right? They're coming in to buy one small piece, but maybe, right, the bed's been such a long time and it's causing issues, or the sofas are, so broken in that there's no more cushion on the sofas, right? Those are the times where if we train our people correctly from the beginning, we shortcut the amount of time it takes them to be able to get to that high level of performance. And we give them the tools and the support that they need to actually be successful at what we're asking them to do. Instead of throwing them out there with little to no training and expecting them to give us the results of a 5+ year veteran in that field, let alone within the organization. So, as a leader, you have to have your mindset correct as to what you're asking your people to do, given your background as well. Because you need to check yourself and understand that, yes, maybe I was a big dog in this other organization, but I'm new, even though I'm coming into a bigger role. I still need to be able to understand where they're coming from so that I can align myself and align them with the new priorities we're trying to get after. That is how you create change, everlasting change. Make it tangible for them. Offer to, you know, have what they want to achieve aligned with what you're bringing in. And when you do that and those paths mix together, they cross, you're going to see that it is much easier to get them on board and aligned to be able to move the organization forward. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for today, guys. Don't forget, as always, hit the like and subscribe button. Grab those training templates in the description and let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the episode, on the material we went over. Let me know if there's anything that you want covered that we haven't talked about. And I'll catch you guys on the next one.